All right, today we're going to tackle one of history's most radical, most provocative, and, yeah, most profoundly misunderstood thinkers, Friedrich Nietzsche. This guy didn't just write philosophy, he took a hammer to it, and we're about to dig into exactly why.
And this is probably his most famous, his most infamous, his most world-shattering declaration. Just 3 words that ripped a massive hole in the fabric of Western civilization. It's a statement that's designed to shock you, and honestly, it still does.
You see, a statement that powerful, it doesn't just pop out of nowhere, right? It comes from a life of total turmoil and a mind of just incredible brilliance. So that's what we're here to do. We're going to unpack the man, his explosive ideas, and yeah, the dangerous legacy he left behind.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with Nietzsche the man, this anti-philosopher. Then we'll walk through his pretty rebellious life, tackle the whole death of God thing, explore his solution in the Superman, and finally, we'll have to confront his very controversial legacy.
Okay, first things first. You've got to understand that he just didn't play by the rules. He wasn't your typical stuffy philosopher building these grand logical systems from some ivory tower. No, he was something else entirely.
Instead of these dense academic arguments, he went for things like aphorisms, parables, even poetry. And he totally embraced contradiction. Why? Well, because he felt it was a much truer reflection of life itself. Chaotic, spontaneous, and definitely not following some big pre-written plan. And this really gets to the heart of it. The guy was a walking paradox. He was a dandy, obsessed with his appearance, but he was also a brilliant academic who became a full professor at just 25, only to walk away from it all. He was really an artist at heart, and as his mind started to unravel, he'd sign his letters as Dionysus, the Greek god of chaos, or the crucified. That tells you everything you need to know about the war going on inside his own head.
So how does someone like this even happen? Where does he come from? Well, his life story isn't just some backstory, it's the furnace, right? It's the very place where all these radical ideas of his were forged.
Man, his life was just this whirlwind of absolute brilliance and incredible suffering. Think about this. At 20, he gets syphilis, and his belief in Christianity just shatters. By 25, he's at the very top of the academic world. He finds this kindred spirit in the composer Wagner, but that friendship just implodes into a nasty feud. And all the while, he's plagued by these crippling illnesses, until finally, his mind just completely breaks. It's this constant battle with his own body and his own mind that directly fuels his whole philosophy of overcoming.
So all of this intense, personal struggle, it led him to his great project, to take that hammer and just smash the very foundations of Western culture, starting with the morality he felt was just promoting weakness instead of strength.
See, Nietzsche was convinced that for the last 2,000 years, Western civilization had been dominated by a value system that was, well, fundamentally anti-life, and he gave it a pretty provocative name: slave morality.
His whole argument was that this morality, which he thought came from the resentment of the weak and oppressed, completely flips natural values upside down. It takes things like strength and calls them evil, while it calls weakness good. It champions humility and pity, not because they're virtuous, but as a survival tactic for the powerless to keep the powerful in check. He saw it as a system that makes people ashamed of their own natural instincts.
And this chart here really lays out the clash perfectly. On one side, you have slave morality. It's all about the afterlife, and it's born from resentment. And on the other side, you've got what he called master morality. He was thinking of like the noble warriors of the ancient world. It values pride, strength, courage. It celebrates this life, here and now, like it's a work of art that you're supposed to shape.
So that brings us back to this monumental phrase. Look, when Nietzsche says God is dead, he's not literally saying some old man in the sky is poofed out of existence. He means that the belief in that God, the very foundation for that entire system of slave morality, has just become unbelievable. It's science, it's reason, it's the modern world. We've killed him. And in doing so, we've pulled the rug out from under our own values, leaving this huge, terrifying void where they used to be.
And that void, it has a name. It's called nihilism. Think about it. If there's no God, no heaven, no big plan from on high, then what's the point of any of it? For Nietzsche, this was the great danger facing all of humanity, a slide into meaninglessness and total despair. But it was also a tremendous opportunity.
Because here's the thing. After you tear down the old world, you've got the freedom and, the huge responsibility to build something new. This is Nietzsche's creative phase, his vision for what humanity could become now that God was dead. So the challenge is pretty clear. If there's no pre-written script for our lives, then we have to become the authors. It's on us. We're responsible for creating our own values, our own purpose, our own meaning, basically from scratch.
And this leads us to his super famous concept of the Übermensch, which you might know as the Superman or Overman. Now, we have to be crystal clear about this. This is not some political leader or a master race. It's an ideal for the individual. The Übermensch is the person who looks into the meaningless void of the universe and, instead of despairing, says yes to life, all of it, the joy and the pain, and creates their own values to live by.
So what's the engine behind all this self-creation? It's what he called the will to power. Okay, and this is another one that gets misunderstood all the time. For Nietzsche, this isn't about dominating other people. It's the fundamental drive inside everything to grow and express its own strength. The artist's will to create a masterpiece, the philosopher's will to find truth, your own will to overcome challenges and become more than you are right now. It's the engine of self-mastery.
But of course, these powerful, explosive ideas, the Superman, the will to power, they cast a really dark shadow. We just can't talk about Nietzsche without confronting how his ideas were horrifically misused in the 20th century. I mean, the Nazis came along and just took his language and twisted it for their own horrifying purposes. The individual goal of the Übermensch, they distorted that into a disgusting racial doctrine of a master race. The creative will to power, they warped it into a justification for brutal military conquest. And his idea of a noble, aristocratic spirit, which is perverted into a political ideology of pure hatred.
And this whole thing was so deeply paradoxical, so ironic, really. Nietzsche's philosophy was fiercely individualistic. He hated politics. He would have absolutely despised the conformist, herd mentality of Nazism. The twisting of his work, it's really one of history's great intellectual tragedies.
So, if you strip away all those horrible distortions, Nietzsche's real importance starts to shine through. He was a brilliant diagnostician of the modern age. He saw, way before almost anyone else, that the decline of religion would force us all to confront this terrifying but also liberating question of how to live without a cosmic safety net.
And this quote right here, I think it perfectly captures his ultimate message. It's a call to embrace life, to affirm it, to find the strength to keep going not because of some promise of a reward later, but by creating your own purpose right here, right now. At the end of the day, in a world where no one's going to hand you a meaning, the power to create your own why, that's the greatest power there is. It's the key to getting through any how.
And so, in the end, that hammer of Nietzsche's, it doesn't just smash the old idols. It turns back on us, and it leaves us with maybe the most profound question of all. In this terrifying freedom that he described, what are you going to build? What will be your why?